Hi, I'm Nate Wakeford, your masculinity and mindset coach. Today I'm going to be talking about the role of emotions and masculine frame. Some people think that having a masculine frame means being disconnected from your emotions, and that couldn't be further from the truth. If you're a man who's shut down, who's not able to connect with his emotions, you're not a framed man. A framed man is very much connected to his emotions. However, he has the ability to moderate those emotions and respond in a non-emotionally reactive way. See, having repressed your emotions doesn't require as much personal development work as having connected with your emotions, finding the traumas that trigger those emotions, and learning how to keep yourself centered and moderate those emotions whilst in some sort of event that is challenging you. So inside my Sovereign Rising program, I have a chapter on mastering emotions and mastering your emotional frame. And in that process, I teach you about the core emotions, how to experience and witness those emotions, to know what they are, and then also having the flexibility to be able to go into those emotions and then come back to peace. And that's the foundational concept of developing masculine frame and specifically developing emotional mastery. Other components, of course, are healing the subconscious triggers which trigger your emotional reactions. That when you're challenged in a particular way around an unresolved trauma, instead of becoming emotionally reactive, going over the top and becoming some sort of aggressive tyrant or similar, you can choose how you respond in a more conscious way instead of being on autopilot to your unconscious trigger. This is so important when it comes to ensuring safety and trust in relationships. Because if you are someone that gets triggered and you start reacting in a dangerous and damaging way from that triggered state, then increasingly people will not trust you. People will be wary around you. See, it doesn't take much to erode the trust that has been built over time when you have become damaging or destructive to the relationship in the way that you respond. And whilst you may forgive later, the reality is this damage is done and it's going to take time to build up that trust again. Well, and this is a message from the other side. If you're around people that are volatile emotionally, that it can't be good for your peace and state of mind. If you have to be continually investing an amount of your resources in observing, looking out for if you say something inadvertently that can trigger this other person, really you're being controlled by fear and you're in an environment which isn't really supportive of your highest good and well-being. So if you find yourself in that situation, really consider about distancing yourself from the person who has some sort of emotional volatility that expresses that in a way that creates a diminished safety and a diminishment of your well-being. Increasingly, as you hold yourself in a higher esteem and you respect yourself more, you won't tolerate these sort of outbursts from other people. Because when you learn to cultivate peace within, when you learn to how to manage your own triggers, you kind of want to be around people who have managed to do the same, or certainly on the path to doing so. Now, there is something else to consider here. You see, often we call in karmic reflections, or we call in opportunities for resolution of our past life and childhood experiences where we have created some sort of distortion or trauma. And so we attract these people in our lives to teach us lessons to grow. So there is circumstances where we will pull these type of people towards us to grow through that experience. But if we ever find ourselves in any kind of repeating pattern, then we haven't learned the lesson from that challenge or catalyst. And the unfortunate reality is sometimes those messages, that opportunities for change, the way that it arrives to us becomes more and more stronger or more intense in the way that it can impact on us. So it's really important to do the subconscious work to heal the childhood traumas and past life traumas that might be creating these circumstances within our life that are not beneficial to our long-term health and well-being. And in those cases, it's a good idea to create a boundary and to create some sort of distance between that person who might often be emotionally triggered and takes their trauma out on the people around them. So this is really something where you need to take care of yourself and make your well-being a priority and not tolerate people around you who diminish that well-being. Because when you conform to an environment that is not conducive towards your well-being, then you're really putting a limitation on your growth. You're putting a limitation to the heightened states you can experience. Now, I understand that if you're very young and you're a child, well, that poses more challenges if the people who are meant to be taking care of you are creating a space that is not conducive to your well-being. But you might seek even then to move, whether you can reach out to an auntie, uncle, grandparents, someone who can help bring you to a place of safety. Because the longer that you stay in environments that diminish your well-being, that ultimately create trauma, the more work you're going to have to do to resolve it later on in life, and the higher the probability that you're going to create extended suffering. See, trauma is something where we all experience it going through childhood, but if we experience extensive and enduring traumas, then it becomes compounding upon each other. And it takes an incredible amount of work to do so, where the greater possibility is to find yourself in a place of safety, to find a way to get to that, as well as to begin working on healing your subconscious traumas that might be helping to keep you in places like that. So let's come back to the original topic about the importance of knowing how to moderate your emotions, and I'll extend it to knowing how to bring yourself back to a centered place when you're triggered. So if you're the person who's been triggered by something another person said or done, and you find yourself heating up, it's really important that you learn how to maintain a split awareness where you don't become completely sucked into the outer world experience that you find yourself in, that you learn how to bring your awareness, or never let go of part of that awareness being on yourself. And so something that I talk about in my retreats and through other videos as well is having a split awareness where you can remain disassociated from the trigger, meaning you feel something build up in you, but then you focus an element of your attention, your awareness on yourself, on your breath, on the gravity that you're feeling, on your physical body, and the sensations that are experiencing there, as well as the other person. So you have this split awareness. That enables you to maintain some resources and maintain yourself in an observing presence of what is happening with regards to this other person in this particular context or event, such that you can choose whether or not you're being led in a direction that you don't want to go, and you can come back to your peace. You can maintain a boundary and not engage in that person's verbal attacks. Obviously, if it's physical, you're going to have to protect yourself. But certainly if it's just a heated environment that's come from a trigger, you need to know how to manage the situation to restore order in the chaos by cultivating that presence and that stillness within yourself and responding with calm. To be the dominant presence in that interaction that is focused on creating harmony and stillness, or removes himself from this exchange if you see that the exchange is deteriorating, and you just have a clear-cut boundary and be assertive in that you don't want to engage in this way anymore, and then just remove yourself. And you can do that. You never have to continue down a trajectory that's escalating in its intensity in a way that could end up resulting in some sort of significant damaging exchange. The final thing is, if you are ever in a situation where you've been triggered and take it out on someone, make sure it doesn't happen again, and two, do the work on yourself. Become a safe man. Become a man who's able to regulate his emotions and not take out his trauma on other people. Become a man who can restore peace and be a positive contributor to harmony environments, instead of being a man who could be the dangerous catalyst to that environment, who erodes well-being and erodes trust. So this is something that's very, very important, something that I strongly consider as an essential part of a man's journey is learning how to master his emotions. If you're a man who has not mastered his emotions, if you're highly emotionally reactive, then you are not a framed man, and you can even be a dangerous man, and not in a healthy way, in a way that's destructive to the people that you love and care about and yourself and the relationships that you create. If this lands home, I encourage you to reach out for support. And you can do so by joining the Sovereign Brotherhood community. You can do so by connecting with me. The details to do so are in the captions below this video. Thanks so much for watching. I look forward to seeing you in the next one.